Tom and I have spent the last 6 months living with a type of car that didn't even exist just a few years ago, the electric hot hatch. This one, to be precise, the Cupra Born VZ. The VZ stands for veloz, the Spanish word for speed. Has it lived up to that, Tom?
Well, 332 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds, so it's certainly speedy.
Yeah, I would say it has lived up to that. What about the rest of it though? Has it been a hit or a miss with the Electrifying gang? Well, stick around to find out, because there is one thing that has driven both of us mad. It is hard to believe, but when we launched electrifying.com 5 long years ago, there were just 25 mainstream electric cars on sale in the UK for us to review. There are now over 130 of them. It's no wonder we're knackered all the time, isn't it? What did we do all day back in 2020?
COVID tests, struggled to get on Zoom.
Yeah, that stayed at home a lot, just generally.
Yeah. But the reason that cars like this now exist, I reckon, is because car makers have realised in the old days, if you wanted a performance car, you needed a V8 or a big turbo. Now you just need a slightly bigger electric motor.
Yeah, because of all that instant torque, and there is loads of it. 554 Newton meters to be precise in this. It's a lot, isn't it?
That is a lot. I mean, like a Porsche 911's 450 Newton meters. So this is more, much more.
Wow, that's nuts. And of course, it's not just Cupra that have jumped on the electric hot hatch bandwagon. There's quite a lot of them now.
There are, aren't there? Yeah.
Alpine A290, MG X-Power.
Yeah. Mini John Cooper Works.
Which I seem to recall made you grumpy and you felt too old for it.
Yeah.
And then there's a VW version.
VW, so the ID3 GTX, yeah.
So, the question we wanted to answer is the Born VZ special enough to stand out from that crowd? And to find the answer, we have literally driven it in rain, sleet, snow, floods, the lot, haven't we? And I think the thing that we probably both agree with is that this car is incredibly easy and fun to live with.
Yeah, I think it's got like hidden performance potential, hasn't it? But it's very easy to live with.
Yes, it's got those impressive optional 20-inch Tornado wheels to mark this out as the performance Focus Born. Yes, you get bucket seats in there. Yes, there is the addition of an adaptive suspension to enable you to get the most out of any road or road condition. And yes, you can play around with the sporty Cupra drive mode to get a boost of extra power, which is fun, not gonna lie. But Cupra has been clever, very clever, because despite all of that, it's also a comfortable, practical daily driver that has proved to be more efficient than I was expecting. It surprised me.
I agree. It isn't even trying too hard on the outside, which I like. The Born is already quite a sporty, aggressive looking car, and they haven't added much to this version. They just didn't need to. I like the fact it doesn't look that different to the standard car, until you put your foot down. But even then, it's not in-your-face performance.
Agreed. And we also agree on the interior. I feel I'm back in my rightful place behind the wheel of my baby. You stole it from me.
I didn't steal it, you wanted it cleaned, Ginny.
That is not true. I handed it over to you and it was very clean.
Relatively clean. I think it was Ginny clean rather than Tom clean.
Let's move on to the elephant in the room and the thing that has driven us both mad. Haptic buttons. Go on.
So haptic buttons, if you don't know, are these, you can hear it when you do this. It's not like a proper button, it just senses when your finger's on it and that does the thing, a bit like on your mobile phone, I suppose. But they don't work terribly well. You get used to them, but they're still flaws.
The main issue is a lot of them around the steering wheel, and certainly when you're driving, it's very easy just with the ball of your hand there, just to catch them, and you find little bings and bongs going off, or you're suddenly in a screen that you didn't expect to be in. It's not the Cupra's fault. I feel for the Cupra. It is Volkswagen's fault because it's a main VW Group part. And we're pretty sure that this is going to go in future.
Yeah, it's also got that irritating window switch, hasn't it?
It has the window switch. I just see no point to it. So it's got, again, the VW Group window switch where you have to decide whether you want to open the front windows or the bottom windows and press a little button in order for that to work.
And there's a slight delay, so you never got into stabbing at it.
It's cost-cutting gone too far on that. Okay, so there's that. The other thing that I was expecting was that perhaps the infotainment system would be a bit iffy.
Yeah.
Because again, that's something we've noticed in a few older VW cars. Actually, it did crash in the early days a couple of times, just went to black screen, and I did a hard reset on the system, which incidentally, if you're wondering, it's a little press on the button here, which is the infotainment on and off switch, and you hold that down for about 15 seconds. It does a hard reset. No problems.
Consumer advice.
No, yeah, good consumer advice. No problems at all since then.
I haven't had a problem with it at all. It's been fine.
It's been absolutely great. It's got one of the newer 12.9-inch touchscreens from the other VW cars, and it is definitely better. I think it's really easy to navigate.
Yep.
Very easy to understand. It's not too complicated a system. And I think the thing it does brilliantly is all the charging and battery information. I think it's great. I think if you're coming to electric for the first time, all the information it gives you about, you know, where your energy is going, about the ability to precondition your battery if you're coming to charge and you're not linked into the sat nav.
It's got all this, hadn't it? This,
you know, proper consumer testing here. Yeah. All of this, and it has tips, which if you want them, they're there. I actually think this is, you know, what VW offers now with this is in the group is really handy for people getting to grips for this for the first time. It's really easy to schedule a charge. That for me got massive thumbs up.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
good.
Couple of things that annoy me.
Okay.
First of all, the wipers. I mentioned it before, but because they're set up for left-hand drive, that one on the left-hand side goes up first and takes priority. So you've got a bigger bit that isn't wiped on that side, but also this one flicks back down, puts water right in your vision, your line of vision, and then you have to wait for it to get wiped. Annoys me.
Do you think you need to get out more?
Possibly.
Go on, what's your other gripe?
Other thing was pointed out to me by a 12-year-old neighbour, Joseph, who's car mad. Hello, Joseph.
Hi, Joseph.
But he sat in here, and he got into the seat, and he's about this big, and he went, and he banged his head on these hard plastic bits, and he said, "This is no good for me."
Brilliant consumer testing from Joseph.
So, yep, that hard plastic bit there, not so good if you've got kids.
Okay, all right.
So, only for grown-ups, maybe.
Okay. However, on the subject of kids, there were 3 Isofix child seat points in this car, one including there where you're sitting, which is always very well received on any car that we review. I think that's great. What else? Bucket seats. I find them really comfy. So when I just get into this car and I feel like, I want to go for a drive in it, and it's comfy and I like it.
I thought it was something else that annoys me.
Oh, okay.
This is the wireless charging pad for your phone.
Oh, and it drops down.
When it drops down, so if your phone needs a charge,
look at this. Put your phone
I'm going to put mine in there because it does actually need a charge. You put it in there, and sometimes it charges, other times it doesn't, and then you get it to just the right point, and you keep it there, and you're like, "Oh, I've got it to charge," and then you go around the corner in a spirited fashion, and it goes off, or
it does that. Yeah,
it does that.
That is annoying. The other thing that happened that won't surprise you, but when I first had this car, I think my son Zach was in the seat, and you know, he, like rushing for the school bus in the morning, bit of banana, half a bacon sandwich, and he just kind of put them there thinking it was a little shelf, and obviously they fell down into that cavernous space down there
and stayed there for 6 months.
But they stayed there for a bit because I didn't know they were there, and I was like, God, there's a smell in this car. What is that smell? And then I found his moldy banana and moldy bacon sandwich. Okay, let's move on. I think other than those things...
Oh, I thought it was something else.
Oh, go on. Oh, no, there's something else I thought of too.
No, 12-volt socket. Now, I know 12-volt is a bit old school, but if you want to plug in a dash cam or you've got something else... Oh, yeah, people still have, don't have sat-navs anymore, but there are things that need charging with 12 volts. Okay. You have to put it in the boot.
Okay. Well, I think the only other point I would make is, does the interior feel special enough for a car that it's a pretty expensive sporty car, isn't it? You know, I don't know, it's whether does it feel special enough?
I think it looks lovely, doesn't it?
It does look lovely.
My problem with it is that the part that you touch a lot is that around the electric window switch, and you pull it every time, and that feels a little cheap. Just a nice little bit of metal would be good there, wouldn't it?
It would, because there's some other bits in it that are really nice. The other point I would make is that, it might surprise you, but I'm not always the best at kind of looking after my car's interior, as perhaps the bacon sandwich story has shown. I'm okay. Anyway, it withstood 5-6 months with me using this car, and actually the quality stood up to the test of a Ginny.
Yeah, it did.
It did. So it's not, I don't think you've had to do much to it. Have you tea cutting or, kind of, disinfecting?
Yeah, fumigating. No, it's been all right. Yeah.
This video is brought to you with Andersen EV, the UK's most awarded home charge point brand of 2024, offering over 200 colour and finish options, a market-leading 7-year warranty and a unique hidden tethered cable. I'd forgotten how much this car makes me smile because Tom's had it for a few weeks now, as I've said. It's just a great car to drive. It manages to be sporty and it lives up to the veloz, the VZ in its name, with all that speed, but it never feels too aggressive for day-to-day running around as well. And they've managed to do something really amazing with the ride. Some quite big wheels, low profile tyres. It really should be harsher than it is. It just soaks up lumps and bumps and feels nimble and agile. It's got a really nice ride. So the Born VZ still only gets a single motor powering the rear wheels, but the motor is more powerful. It gets 322 brake horsepower, unlike the standard car's 277. As we said at the top, 0 to 60 is 5.6 seconds. Numbers that really put this firmly into the modern hot hatch window. But I was reminiscing recently. I was at Renault a couple of weeks ago, went to look at their new mini supercar, the R5 Turbo 3E. They had a load of original turbos there from the 80s, which looked great. But do you know what 0 to 60 was in those cars? 6.6 seconds. This thing is faster than all of those hot hatch heroes from back in the day. So what have you got? Well, you've got different drive controls, of course, here on the steering wheel. You've got range, comfort, preference, individual, so you can set it up as you like. You have a Cupra button, which is great. Let me just do this. It just gives you a boost of extra power. You can feel the suspension stiffens up a bit, the steering gets a bit tighter, gets a bit more life. It's really nice on a nice long stretch of A road, or if you see a quite interesting bend in the road coming up. One thing that bugs me a bit though is the brake pedal. So regen is really nice. It's operated from paddles on the steering wheel, as is standard with VW Group cars. But the actual brake pedal itself, it just doesn't feel quite responsive enough. I think it suits the slightly more sedate drive of the standard car. But in this, with that extra power and performance, I just wish that it was a bit more responsive. The other thing actually, when we're talking about response, is the power. It's quite easy to poodle around in this. To really get the most out of the power, you do need to really get your foot down on the accelerator, and then you can feel it spring into life. So I think with that, nice sharper brakes just would be welcome. The suspension setup is really nice, really nice. This is the only Born to get the dynamic chassis controller standard. It's an £830 option on other models, and I do think it really brings out the best in the ride quality in this car. You're not getting much in the way of sounds actually though to back up that performance, the way you do with the Ioniq 5N with the fake gearbox and all that. I think it could have been quite fun if it had a bit of that, and I do wonder if that might come in over-the-air updates or on future models. But I think overall it's a car for all seasons. It's great to have a bit of fun in on a nice twisty road like this, but it's great around town. It's great on the motorway. I've driven it in really horrible wet conditions, always felt really solid and planted on the road. It's a car that I have really enjoyed driving, and you know what, you can't ask more than that, can you? I'm quite sad to see it go, but then I was quite sad when Tom finally managed to get the keys off me. Let's just try that button again. Let's talk range and charging, and as a reminder, the entry-level Born gets a 59 kilowatt-hour battery and 264 miles of range, or you can opt for a 77 kilowatt-hour battery with a claimed 342 miles of range. This version gets a 79 kilowatt-hour battery with a claimed range of 366 miles between top-ups. So this gets 24 miles of extra range for what isn't a big increase in battery size, which sounds like quite a good deal for me. if you crunch the numbers, it should be giving you an official range of 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, of course, you're just not going to get that all the time. Despite its power, I have driven it in eco mode for quite a lot of winter driving, although, as you'd expect, I've made good use of the Cupra button too. In very cold weather on motorway driving, I've been averaging around 260 miles. Around town, also in cold winter weather, that figure's been closer to 300 miles. And in warmer temperatures, well, it's been creeping up towards the claimed range. Given this car is all about performance, I've got to say I was prepared for a bigger drop in range than I've experienced. So charging, well, I've done most of it at home, but on longer journeys, when I have used a rapid DC charger, I haven't been able to find a charger quick enough to check out its top speed of 185 kilowatts. But on the 150 kilowatt units I've tried, I've found the power drops off at around 30%. In my experience, a 10 to 80% top up on the go has usually taken around half an hour and has averaged a speed of about 110 kilowatts. Of course, as always, this speed will vary depending on loads of factors, including the external temperature, the temperature of the battery, and of course, how much energy you want to put into it. And don't forget that we have a full deep dive into this car over at electrifying.com. Now, the sporty VZ does come fitted with a heat pump, which I think has helped on those really cold winter mornings. And I really like the ability to ready the battery for charging via the preconditioning function in the touchscreen. It's really easy to find and it's very handy if you haven't plugged your route into the car's inbuilt sat-nav and you're using a mapping system from your phone. Should we talk money? So this particular version with those extraordinarily lovely but, as Tom says, quite difficult to clean wheels.
Have you ever cleaned them?
No, never. No. But you told me they're difficult to clean, so I trust you. You know. Let's move on. Along with, of course, this lovely paint colour, which is incidentally £995 extra. I know it's the top of the range paint colour, but it's nice. Anyway, this version with all of that comes in at just under £48,000. It's quite a lot, isn't it?
That is quite a lot. But if you look at other performance cars, if you look at a petrol car with that amount of power, that's pretty much that amount, isn't it?
Yep. But I was looking and thinking, which version would you go for? Would you go for this or the 77 kilowatt hour V3? And I was running the numbers on them. So our usual, down payments and terms, which should be coming up on the screen. This was coming in at around 380, 390 a month.
Not bad, again.
The V3, around 300. So there's quite a big difference there.
But if you look at the list price, once you've added options onto that V3, and this is more efficient because it has the better motor and the bigger battery, so you've got more range, so you'll probably save by buying this version rather than the top of the range V3, wouldn't you?
Is that man maths?
Yeah, works though, doesn't it?
I quite like your man maths.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So shall I have the key then?
What I've worked out is your jacket clashes, so I should keep it.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's mine.
Okay.
It's mine. Thanks.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.